guys, this is Vikrant from Team AMP, and the weird lady over here is Sushrita Sue. Uh,
You have to every single time. You just have to, right?
yeah, because you're weird.
I
So today,
mean,
whatever. So today we are.
Actually,
This
that's
is a
nice, because
special.
his Insta profile is bearded weirdo. So he's just saying that you're part of his clan. So by that logic.
So obviously, I'm a weird guy, so I'm gonna be friends with weird people.
excuse me,
Okay.
viewers, whoever's watching this and who is listening to this, I am the sane one. Okay, I'm the psychologist over here. So please don't pay attention to
Yeah,
any
yeah, yeah.
shenanigans.
She's a psychologist. She has no logic and he's purely psycho.
You
Uh,
just had again. You just had to. I'm not even saying anything to you about you or anything at all in front of our audience, and you just have to. You just have to.
yes,
That
yes, I
shows
just have
who
to.
is sane and who isn't.
Okay.
Just say.
So now that we've gotten the banter out of the way, this is a very special episode. So because this is our 1 year anniversary of Team Amp. So 1 year ago we started this whole thing because there was a lockdown going on and we had nothing better to do. Uh, uh, 1 year later, there's still a lockdown going on and we have nothing better to do. This time around, we have a very special author of the month coming up. His name is Mr. Suhail Mathur. He's here with us right now, and Suhail and I have known each other for six years now, right, Suhail? Going on 6 years. Like Suhail
Yeah,
is my
yeah.
literary agent. He's a best-selling author of two books, and well, he's also been a very good friend. Him and his wife have been friends through very difficult times for me. Suhail, welcome to the AMP. How's it feeling?
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be part of such a momentous occasion. 1 year anniversary of the AMP. You guys have been doing terrific stuff apart from the funny jokes that you've been cracking and the camaraderie that we keep on seeing. But a lot of fun stuff for the authors. I keep on seeing the contests that you organize, and I feel that it's not only very invigorating for the participants but also for the judges, because they get to read plethora of write-ups, which not only helps them understand what people today are writing, but their guidance also helps the participants. So it's a mutually beneficial platform for everyone. So kudos to the both of you. I think the lockdown to some really good advantage.
Thank you very much. So, without further ado, we're going to start with the question and answers. As you well know, Suhail, the last year has been very difficult for us, for the world on the whole. We were on lockdown, and it's very easy to go insane during this period of isolation. But every one of us has clung on to something that has kept them sane. I like to call it my fortress of solitude. My fortress of solitude has been, cooking or arts and crafts and stuff. So, in during this
Don't
whole
you dare
year,
take away
what
arts and crafts from me. I brought you there. Don't forget.
Okay, yes, Sushita brought me there. But everyone has a fortress of solitude of their own. What for you has been a fortress of solitude? What has kept you sane during this year?
Right, very interesting question. That's true that there have been tough times, but Vikrant, what happens is that as a literary agent, predominantly our work is something that you can do from either your phone or your laptop. So there's not been too much of a difference in terms of how I would react to such a scenario, because work has been going on at full swing, right from last year till now. So yeah, I've been fairly busy reading scripts, pitching books, and doing a little bit of writing as and when time permits. So I think creativity is what drives most of us, and fortunately, I've been in a place where the creative process has not been hampered. So if you were to ask me in terms of how the lockdown has impacted me per se, I think thankfully it's not really impacted me in terms of the physical attributes of it, like one has to go out and do something, because the work that we are doing can be done, from our place. So yeah, I've been in a good position, and speaking to you guys is another feather in the cap.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Considering that, you have had a relatively busy year, even last year, and you continue to have, like, you're continuously occupied with doing something or the other. In the process of continuously being occupied with something or the other, I would like to ask, what is your definition or your understanding of the concept of mental health?
Mental health. I think what I feel is that mental health is not something that just is limited to an individual. It's also dependent on your surroundings and several other factors. So because those factors will really affect your mental health, and sometimes people may consciously or subconsciously affect that for the better or worse. But I think what has happened is that in the interim, people have at least started understanding the concept of mental health, that or at least being more sensitive to others. I think that is what happened. Especially I think that was a major thing that emerged from an otherwise rather unfortunate incident with Sushant. But I think that was something. But I also feel at the same time, and I'll give an example too. Uh, that sometimes it's more of lip service than actually understanding the process, because there was this author on Facebook, and he was going all guns blazing, about how Bollywood was a bad place, and basically speaking for Sushant, and talking a lot about mental health, and talking about the mental health part was something that I felt was nice. But what happened later in the same year in December, the Indian cricket team toured Australia, and there's this cricketer Prithvi Shaw. He's around 21 years old, and he got out on scores of 0 and 4 in the Test match. So what happened was that the same guy started posting a lot of memes about him, and I just wrote to him that why you mocking this kid? He's 10 years younger to you. He's representing the country, and it's not as if he's highly experienced.
Right.
Now's the time that you should probably encourage him, because there are already people who make memes, but his own countrymen should show support. But I think the point got lost, because he started giving various analogies here and there, and I told him that, look, a few months ago you were the one who was tom-tomming about mental health and saying that we should be more sensitive, and look what you're doing. And what happened was that that gentleman unfriended me. He did not respond to that. He did not respond to that, because obviously he wasn't in a position to do so. And somewhere or the other, I was vindicated, because what happened was that Prithvi Shaw was sent back to play for the domestic circuit, and he emerged as the highest run scorer over there. So what he did was that he went on to Instagram, and he posted. He said that over the last couple of months, a lot of people have been making fun of me. So
Mm.
those who are making fun of me have nothing better to do. But I know that I can do a lot better, which is why I'm doing this. And it had a photograph of him scoring a century. So he wasn't my friend anymore. Otherwise, I would have definitely taken that photograph and gone to that thread. But I think so. People need to understand the concept rather than just speaking about it. Because uh, it's such a sensitive situation or a scenario. You never know what can offend a person, what can affect a person. At times your intention may not be to offend, but you never know. So I think the more people know about it, and the more people speak about it, the discourse will only strengthen. For few years back, I mean, there were jokes on skin color, on you know weight gain, and people used to laugh. And because at that point of time, jokes like that were funny. It's only like
Mm-hmm.
it's only because we got to know over a period of time that, look, it can affect someone. It's not a joke is something that should be appreciated by at least a majority of the people, if not all. But if there are people who are getting affected by, don't crack it. Let's be sensitive. So I think that's learning is a continuous process. What really defines mental health for me is learning and the quest for continuous learning, because the more you learn about it, the more sensitive you will be towards others as well as to your own environment. So yeah, I think that's one of the takeaways that I'd like to mention.
Wow, I mean that's really, really very insightful, and such a response coming from people who do not belong to the professional fraternity just gives me more faith, more hope, and more confidence that there is one day going to be a revolution wherein mental health will be respected the way it deserves to be respected in our country for each and every individual. Following up with that, I have another question for you, Suhail. Do you find yourself engaging in enough care of your mental health?
In what sense?
Okay, let me simplify the question. Do you take care of your mental health? If so, if yes, then how?
uh, See, I try to always be in a positive frame of mind. Again, life is always going to throw challenges at you, but fortunately my personality is such that I generally do not take something to the next day, which is not to say that it does not affect me. It may affect me. In fact, just yesterday I was having a chat with my wife, over a certain book that we wanted to work on. I wanted to work on, and I had an indirect access to that person, and the person who was connecting us was fairly confident that it would materialize. And just yesterday I happened to see that the person I was wanting to work with had already gone ahead and signed a deal with somebody else. So I just felt odd and weird that there was a conversation happening and what happened. So those kind of things really can upset you, because I mean, I take my professional work rather seriously, but at the same time, it's very important to have family support. So of course, my wife was rather supportive of the same, and she was mentioning the kind of brilliant work that we have done and the other people that we could tap in the same field. So I did see a valid point over there. So obviously, you win some, you lose some, but the idea is to win more, and or at least keep the quest for winning more intact, and focus on the positives. Again, I'll give you a very personal example. So what happens is, a lot of people tell me or compliment me by saying that, Suhail, now you're the country's number one literary agent. You've beaten all the other literary agents. And my answer to that is very simple, and very honestly I'm stating this, that yes, I always whether I wanted to be number one or not is just a byproduct. I wanted to do good work. Because I do good work, I really do not even like to see what the others are doing, honestly. Because the moment I will do that, it'll have two repercussions. The first will be that dissatisfaction will creep in. That, oh, so and so has got this book done, I should have got this done. You know,
Mhm.
that's one. And secondly, the thing is that you know if I'm spending time on seeing what others are doing, then what am I doing on my own? So I rather concentrate on my own journey, because my authors have signed up with me and not with anybody else. So I should rather focus on that. So so when people say that you are one or something, I say it doesn't matter, because what happens is everyone has their own journeys. You know, if I have 10 books and I'm able to sell those 10 books, and there's someone who's got 3 books and he's able to sell 3 books, great. I mean, you've done the work that was assigned to you in a good way. What matters is that you're satisfied with what you're doing, right? So I just try to keep myself in a positive frame of mind, because I've realized that if you are upset, dissatisfied, then mind always will, somewhere at the back of your mind, it'll always stay, and you'll not be able to do what you have to do at that point of time. And Sushita, you'll understand that because mental health is such a personal thing, the other person will not get to know. I mean, work life still has to continue. So you are in a time warp at that point of time, that you're thinking of what happened 2 days ago. But if there's a certain thing that has to be done, X person will come and say, hey, I'd given you this work, what's happening? And you can say that, oh, I am still thinking of what happened 2 days ago. So you need to figure out a way as to how you overcome that and focus on the next goal. So that's how I break things. As I said, family support is very important. My parents have played a very crucial role in uh, in this process, and I'm very happy that I have My wife who's always very supportive. I think it's a two-way street. I am also very forthcoming in terms of discussing things with them. So it's always been there with my parents and my wife. So it's not something that I'd want to hold back. If however I feel there are things that I can handle at my own end without really troubling them, because see how it is when it is a problem, it never remains your own problem, right? It also affects people who are close to you in some way or the other. So if I feel that it's a situation that I can resolve on my own, then I may as well do that. But the good thing is that if it can't be resolved, then why spend time on it? It's done and dusted. Let's move to something else. But yes, I do mention it to my family, and they give their perspective, and I hear that out, and that really helps me on a lot of occasions. So I think that is what we need, which is what we were discussing sometime back also, the atmosphere around, how people support one another. So yeah, that's how I unwind and keep my mental health in place.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's so both of us as a fellow mytho fantasy writer, uh,
Yeah.
we both know that writing comes with its own mental rigmarole. So, what according to you as a writer are the mental rigors that go along with writing?
Okay, so I think it's a multi-stage process, and there are various stages where somebody could be dissatisfied if I was to just list it down, not personally, but if one has to break it down objectively, it could start off from the idea level itself. Whether you're able to get an idea for a book or not, that could be very frustrating. Sometimes you will get an idea, but they are not able to build on, which is where the writer's block comes into play. That can be very frustrating. Now, once you've done a book, you've written it, and you're not finding a publisher, that can be equally frustrating. You've got a publisher, but your book is not releasing because the pandemic happens, and your book is, pushed 2-3 years back. That can that can affect your mental health. Finally, your book does release, and bookstores are shut and so you get affected. So therefore, your mental health being assesses, and say supposing your book does not do as well as you may have expected it to. So there are various stages, but I always look at Vikrant, ways to counter that. I'll give you two examples from the process that I've mentioned over here. Uh, Talking about the time lag that is happening in the industry, so there are certain publishers who are bringing out books faster, and there are certain publishers who are taking time because they want to explore the market to the best possible opportunity when every store is open. And there was this author of mine, and she had got a for her first book got a publishing contract with one of India's topmost publishing houses. The top publishing house, however, told her that we don't see the book releasing till the second half of 2022. Okay, so so she was like, oh, what should I do? Should I bring out a Kindle, maybe another book in the interim? And I told her, or bring out a book, on my own, self-publish something. I said, look, the USP of your book is that as a first-time author, you have bagged a deal with an A-list publisher. The moment you write something else, the deal will always stay, but it will not be that you got your first book deal with someone, because there'll be another work that will proceed. What you can always do is you can keep on writing. Because the situation will eventually one day improve. And when the situation improves, you may have 3, 4, 5 scripts written. And at that point of time, you can decide that, okay, this is a book that I want to give to a publisher who will probably bring it out in 6 months. But this is one that I can wait for, because you also have to keep an adequate gap between one release and another, rather than just sit idle for 2 years and then initiate the process of writing once things improve. Use this period to build on concepts, develop. And I think that really helped her, and she was quite grateful. And last I spoke to her, she was working on 3-4 concepts. So I think that is one way. The second is, there's always a demand for books to be in stores, but I can tell you that the stores are having a really tough time. I mean, 50% of the bookstores in India are currently shut, and the remaining 50 are barely getting any sales. And I know it from the store owners themselves. Uh, so what happens in that scenario is that you need to adapt, you need to change with the changing times, right? So if your book is not available offline, doesn't matter, use it as an opportunity. And I say that, the lockdown has really been favorable to young and new authors, because what that's done is that every book, be it of publisher A or publisher Z, everyone is selling the book online now because the stores are shut. So what that does is that gives you an opportunity that if you are a first time author and there is an author who's written 10 books and both your books are releasing at the same time, if you are able to market and promote your book well, you may actually outdo that author, because now it's a level playing field. You've never had a level playing field in literature earlier or prior to this. Here is probably the first time where you're getting a level playing field. And there are lots of authors who brought out their books have become bestsellers. I'll quote an example. There's an author of ours, Ria Matthew. She written a book on 5 ways to cook different recipes. So it's books called 5 ways. It involves baking and desserts and all those kind of things. So we send that book out to a lot of publishers and got a very, very encouraging response from some of the big names in the publishing fraternity. But cookery books always have photographs, colored photographs generally, so that increases the market price. And with the advent of television and YouTube and recipe channels online, the sale of cookery books per se has taken a hit. So they were not very sure whether a cookery book at that point of time would work or not. And as a result, one of India's young emerging dynamic publishing houses, Loxley Hall Publishing, took up that book. And what that book did was that in the last 1 year, it's become the highest selling, or at least one of the highest selling, if not the highest selling cookery book in India. So just on the basis of how much it is sold online, yeah, it was in the top 10 books across all books in India on Amazon for a very long time. So the book has done splendidly, and I had some of these publishers actually get back and rue their decision on seeing how fantastically well the book is performed. So I think I've always said that at times adversity will give rise to opportunity. You will have fresher players in the market, newer players, newer names will emerge, and people will take them seriously. So it's not always a bad thing till such time that you can find a way out. If you get stuck on certain notions, on certain ideas that no, I have to do only this, fair enough, but then you'll also have to wait because the situation isn't ideal. So if you can't wait, then adapt to the situation, and if you don't want to adapt, then please be patient. As simple as that.
No, see, this side of you, like also saw when I was editing for you, and after editing the book, we used to sit together and you used to ask me, "Ki, is the book good? What kind of what kind of publisher should I pitch it to?" So I think that was that's another aspect of it. Like sometimes you just need the right publisher to take interest in your book. So that also kind of works. So another
Correct,
thing
correct.
is
Because
along
buyers
with
should take your input first, because everyone needs to understand that the editor is actually the first reader of the book in a normal parlance, right? So his or her views are very important, because they are not only giving a feedback in the editorial capacity, they are also giving feedback as a reader. So when you have a dual or a two-pronged approach, the response becomes that much more interesting. And it's important to know what market a certain book will have, because not every publisher will publish every kind of book. So you need to know what expertise one is having, and then pitch appropriately. So yeah, Vikrant's absolutely right. It's important to take everyone's views in mind, and then pitch it. See, at the end of the day, as a literary agent, I would like to pitch the book to all publishers, because if I'm not sending it out to all, then I'm already negating a response without even pitching it. So I'd rather let them say a no, and still have some opportunity or a chance at least. But what a feedback will do is that you will in your mind know that okay, these are my primary publishers who have a good chance of taking these kind of books. So target area, or your follow-ups with them might be slightly on a more aggressive level, and try to say that, guys, look, this is a good book, you must take it up, it's in your genre, it'll do well, those kind of things. So that's how the feedback helps.
That's why he makes me read all of his chapters periodically. No wonder.
Yeah, she is my sounding board. Always after I finish writing, I send my work to her, and she gives me feedback. So what I did for you, she does just for me.
Nice, nice.
So
When you said
along
she's
with
your, when you said she's your sounding board, do you mean that when she's giving you a feedback, she's sounding board after reading your chapters?
okay,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
No, no, of course,
So
you write
along
very
with
interesting chapters, and I for one really like uh, the visual imagery that you create in your books. So, which is why I'm begging you on to please write
yeah.
another book. It's been
Yeah,
long.
actually, yeah. So along with being a writer, you're also a literary agent. So and I think the kind of literary agent that you are, you give constant support to your writers. Like you were probably the first person to actually say that I belonged in the writing industry, and which was a really good boost for me at that time when I was doubting my own, my own skills as a writer. Along with that, you also develop new shows for a major TV channel as well. So, how do you balance these three roles of yours? Because it's not easy being a literary agent. You have to, care for people like me, and I know for a fact that I can be a diva sometimes.
So, okay, interesting question. So, see, Vikrant, the background to it is that, as you also know, that prior to this, I was a lawyer. I've graduated from the National Law University in Delhi, a second batch, and I was working with one of India's topmost law firms. The only thing is that, it's not about the hours. There were crazy hours over there, there are crazy hours even now. That seemed like work. This doesn't seem like work. This is passion, this is creative, so your mind always remains alert. And I think if you are passionate about something, then you don't worry about the time. You'll probably put in the extras, but you'll enjoy all of it. There have been times when I've probably gotten up at 3 in the night and I just wasn't feeling too sleepy, so I've just gone and opened my laptop and responded to 100 plus emails from 3 to 7. Because what that also does is that I can cover my backlog faster. Otherwise, you always have someone you write a mail to. The most irritating mails in the world, guys, is when you write to someone, "Hi, thanks to this, please do call me on XYZ day at this time." Okay, and you'll think that okay, there's one mail less, and 5 minutes later, your inbox will have the same number of mails with someone writing okay. So that is very very irritating, but you can't really do. I mean, I'll give you a really funny example. I think there was this one day I was working and there were 85 emails in my inbox. This is at the beginning of the day, and throughout the day I was just working and working and working. And at night, my wife asked me, so how many emails are left now? I said 88. So, so the thing is that they keep on coming, and sometimes it's just difficult, no matter how hard you do it. So I think that night time also gives you a catch up time, because the entire world is sleeping. So you can do your creative stuff, and I think all creative people will, agree with the fact that it does give a huge bend to creativity at that point of time. So I try to balance it out, Vikrant, not consciously. It just happens on its own, because what I also feel is it's important to know is what is important or more important at that juncture. For an author, their book is the most important, right? But if you're doing 50 books at one point of time, you will know which out of 50 are more important, in the sense that there will be 10 people who would have signed up with you in January, 10 in February, and 10 in March. But all 30 will want the book to be out the next day. But you have to tell the guys who set it in March that look, there's a process. The ones who are there earlier, we have to look into their work, make them understand. And how can that happen? That can only happen when you yourself know you can prioritize what is more important at that point of time or not. So speed has to be there, but at the same time, what you are doing with that speed is also very important. So I think that balance needs to be there. Fortunately, I have worked it out successfully. There is no mantra to it, honestly, so I can't give any gyan on that. But it's just something that happens. Probably the knack of finding out what is more important. I think the knack happens because I come from a very clean place. I take things on a very righteous level. So no matter who the author is, I treat all of them equally. It's just who sent the book out when, and the work will be done accordingly. So I think when you are clear in your head and in your heart, I think everyone else will sooner or later understand that process, and they will also give due respect to the way in which you're working, because sooner or later the results will show. So yeah.
Wow, that's really insightful. I mean, especially having so many things to do simultaneously and being able to manage through it very well, albeit compromising a little bit on sleep on occasion. That is an area of my that concerns me. But anyway, I'm sure you must be seeing through that you get sufficient hours of sleep and your brain is healthy. Anyway,
Yes.
now talking now, since I'm the mental health person here, and being a professional, I have observed that there is still a lot of stigma associated with seeking help.
Hmm.
I have had to convince people. I don't like convincing, but the thing is, I've had to sit down and psychoeducate people about the benefits of taking up counseling, going and seeking help for any issue or any concern. If you don't even have an issue or a concern and you just feel like talking to somebody who is unbiased and non-judgmental and will look at you with unconditional positive regard and has a great deal of empathy, you can go and approach a mental health professional, and it's like a big ginormous battle that us mental health professionals are even fighting up to date to reduce the stigma. Sure, it has come down, but we need to reduce it a lot further. So I just wanted to ask you a question related to your contribution in this. How would you like to help break the stigma towards visiting a mental health professional?
Interesting. So see, I'll tell you. I'll again go back. I'll respond to your query exactly, but I'll just give you background to that. There was we were having an interview in school for the post of the house captain, right? And I was giving that interview, and the interviewer asked me that how do you what can you do to increase participation of our house? My house, in our school, Delhi Public School, Noida, the houses were based on rivers. So my house was Jhelum. So increase participation of our house people in various events. So what have you done till date? So I said, I've had conversations with those people. I tried to make them understand that go ahead, do it. Leave the fear behind. So they asked, fear of what? Yeah. And I said, fear of failing. That is something that stops a lot of people. Fear of how you will be seen by people. Fear of how you will be judged by people. And that is a correlating factor over here. And Shushita, it's not only back then. I mean, thankfully they did like the answer, and I was made the house captain. But even when it comes to scripts, there are a lot of authors, and I'm having a chat with them, and they're like, Suhail, should we bring out our book? Will people like it? I said, there's only one way to find out whether they will or they won't. Bring it out in the market. Because if you aren't, you are depriving people of a book, a good story, an idea that has germinated in your mind to come out in the market. See, as far as the creative process is concerned, or creative products rather are concerned, you'll never have 100% positive or negative ratio to anything, be it a movie, be it a song, or be it a book. There'll obviously be a certain percentage who will like it and a certain percentage who may not like it, or vice versa. The idea is to probably be in the majority segment, which is a positive one. But if you're not bringing out the book, then how will you get to know? So I always tell them that bring it out. If people like it, that your idea was correct. And if in case they don't, then learn from it. Learn from it that what are the things that you could do the next time around. And sometimes what happens, Sushita, is that your opinion might be the unpopular opinion in the house, but that doesn't mean that you do not bring your opinion out. So if you are able to change even one mind by what you've written or what you've conveyed, I think that's a victory for you as an author, as someone who's bringing something out in the public forum. So this is the same logic that I would use when someone has to go to a mental health expert and see if there is anything that is plaguing someone's mind. Yeah, it's better to find a redressal for it than it taking alarming proportions. As I said, it's not something that others may necessarily get to know that you are feeling. And I'll not use the word suffering, but you are going through. So it's very important that you think about your own self at that point of time. Because when I say that others may not get to know about what you're feeling, does not necessarily denote that those people are not caring for you. They may not know how they can help you out, and that is where the role of somebody like you comes into play, where you can bring things out. I mean, I've worked with I've done books with a lot of paranormal investigators, and whenever I do books with them, it's a similar situation that they'll go to someone and you know इसको इसने पकड़ लिया है, इसको इस चुड़ैल ने पकड़ लिया, इसको ये कर लिया, वो कर लिया. And as paranormal investigators, they too mention that there's every act does not necessarily mean that there's a witch or a spirit or a ghost around. There is a mental aspect to it too, and that's what they do. So I think people need to understand that it's something that rather than poking fun on, it's important that you clear whatever is hurting you and harming you. So I think that is what one needs to really do. I have an author, Arjun Hemadi. He wrote a book called Captain Khadus, which focuses on mental health. It's set in 2025. It's set in 2025 about the Indian cricket team, which is in doldrums, and there is this cricketer who's now been made the captain of the Indian team. But for the past 2 years, he wasn't playing the sport because he was playing with mental issues or had some sort of a trauma. So the question is that will this guy be able to lead the country now, and how the country is going to look at this guy, who in their head was having some sort of problems. But why he actually brought that book out was he said that he was in a similar space some time ago, and he decided to bring it out in through a creative medium, and we were more than happy to do so. We brought it out. The book did really well, and what happened in the interim was that what he had written as a possible figment of his imagination, which stemmed from an actual incident that happened in his life, the very crux of the book became true, because during that process you had cricketers like Virat Kohli coming on board and saying that when he wasn't performing well against England in 2014-15, he had several severe mental issues. He wanted to give up the game. There's another very popular all-round Australian cricketer, Glenn Maxwell. He actually took a break from the game. He said, I want to concentrate on my mental well-being, right? And everyone gave him that. Similar thing happened in 2001. There was this English cricketer called Marcus Trescothick, and he said that he actually left the game because he said, I want to spend time on my mental health, and I do not want to be away from my family. This constant touring is affecting my mental health. And at that point of time, the responses that happened were completely contrasting to how it was now. The responses now were much more nuanced, balanced, informative, and understanding. But at that point of time, people were like, "Pagal hai kya ye? Why is he doing this? He's not understanding the larger impact of things. Why is he letting go of his career? So yeah, I think we've made considerable progress from where we were. We still need to do a lot more. But yeah, I think if we are in the right direction, hopefully we'll reach there in times to come.
Okay. Taking forward from your last point, we still need to do a lot more. I guess you may have answered this question in bits and pieces throughout, but I'd still like to make it a more specific question. Do you see yourself bringing awareness about mental health to people? If yes, then how?
See, not organically, because or at least deliberately or purposefully, Because see, I don't like to preach per se, nor am I a social media influencer where I'll write something. I mean, and I'm not just saying it with respect to this particular point. I'm saying it in general. So it's not like I've had a good breakfast at McDonald's. So I'll post and say, hey guys, McDonald's offering some great food in the morning. Please go and eat. So those kind of things. If you ask me that how do you find the food, I'll tell you I think it's great. You should go and do so. So my response is more individualistic rather than large scale, because what I also feel, Sushita, is that in a scenario like this, everyone's mental problems, mental health is a result of, or might be a result of, their circumstances, their upbringing, the situation that they are in, which will be very different from one another. It is not to say that a person staying in the city cannot have mental health issues and a person staying in the slums will. Both of them could have it. But the recourse to that may be totally different. It might be totally different because it might have been triggered by totally contrasting things in the first place. So until and unless you do not understand what the issue is, to just give a high-handed statement doesn't really make sense, because then again you are doing what that author was doing in the beginning. Just saying things for the effect of saying it. Why I don't want to do it is because I take it seriously. I honestly take it seriously. So I don't want to fib over there. I would rather hear someone give my point of view and also recommend them to somebody like you know because I can give my opinion being in a position. See, the thing with everyone is, it's not as if marriage counselors have perfect marriages. You would have seen marriage counselors also having divorces. So the point is that in general people are better at giving advice to others. When it comes to them, you know and they are in a similar situation, they may be in a fix. So the idea is to give your opinion as someone who you feel is in a position to give that, but always recommend them to a specialist in the field, right? I mean, if somebody comes to me and says that I'm having heart problems, for example, I may tell them that okay, cut down on this, that, whatever, but I'll not say that okay, don't visit a hospital. I'll say please go see the doctor, get a check done. So you have to go to the expert at the end of the day, and that is what will happen. But my process is more individualistic in nature. Until unless I do not know what the situation is, I just feel that not being a competent enough authority on the subject matter, one should not say too much, because then you might get exposed also. But at the same time, if you know that person, know the situation, then you can give a balanced response to that person.
Uh,
Well, that's a
yeah,
very interesting
that's all.
response.
Thanks.
Yes, yes, that is. So, time for the final question of the day. We are doing a writing contest. You're going to be part of the panel for that writing contest. You're going to
Super.
read the stories that have been written by our participants. What would you like to see? Like, what will be you be looking for when you're reading the stories? And like, what is that X factor that will attract your attention?
Okay, so that's a fairly valid question. See, I've always believed in the story rather than the narrative. All right, I mean, both are important, undoubtedly, but for me the story is more important. If there is an excellent narrative, or there is you know a write-up which has been written very well, but it does not lead you to anywhere, that doesn't work for me in comparison to, say, a story which may have a few grammatical issues, right? Or have certain narrative issues. Sure, I'll recognize that and realize that. But if the story is great, then you are in a position to tell the writer that look, A, B, C are the three places where you can improve because your story is great. But I can't go and create a story for someone. So I can say that yeah, your writing style is fantastic, but well, I can't give my ideation because everyone thinks differently. But it's sort of a limiting process. So I would say that the story needs to be very engaging. I would prefer that you bring Indianness into these stories. When I say Indianness, what I mean is have Indian characters. I would rather read about a Jay than a John, because that is something that would resonate much more. Indian authors, Indian writers have this tendency that they plan to write for the global audience, but they need to understand who their primary audience is. So when you have stories, uh, you did mention that the topic is lockdown blues, right? So if you have stories which are centered in the Indian milieu, you can resonate better with it. Which is not to say that if someone is stuck in England, I'll not want to read that. Yes, I'd want to read it if it's an Indian character who's stuck there, has some issue, wants to return, but is unable to do the XYZ reasons, and what happens. But yeah, keep your characters Indian is what I'd say, and well, we all like a good twist in the tale at the end. So if you can bring that out, nothing like it. So yeah, I think those would be some of the key points that I'd like to bring up.
No,
You just gave me an
that's
idea for
really a very
another short
prudent.
story that I'm writing. And Vikrant will, as usual, cut me whenever I'm trying to say something. That's like a routine that has to happen with every video that we do. So I was saying, with whatever Suhail just said, you've given me an interesting idea for another story that I'm planning on writing. So I'm in the middle of writing one story is already done, and I have a third story in mind. So thank you.
Oh, cheers.
So that is another thing. Like Sushrita said, she's writing this short stories, and whenever she comes to me for feedback, she expects me to give feedback on her writing style as well, on her grammar as well. And I'm like, you don't have to worry about grammar. वो जब edit में जाएगा, when you're getting it published, when
I
it
don't
goes to edit,
expect
all that grammar
I
is
don't
gonna
expect
like.
I don't expect the grammatical feedback. I don't. I don't. I don't.
No, but it's common. It's a lot common these days. Like most people who send me their stories for the contest and everything, they want feedback on their writing style. I would rather give you feedback on how you can better your story than your writing style, because writing style and everything, grammar, writing style, all of that can be like it can be changed through the edit. But what cannot be changed is your story. It's the crux of your story. That has to be interesting. That has to be the core.
True, I agree. Having said that, one still needs to give importance to the grammar and syntax, because what happens is that when you send out a script to a publisher, while it is true that the publisher will do edits, the publisher will structural edits as opposed to it's important to support. So they'd rather pass that script and work on a script where they have to do lesser work. So it's important that you also keep your grammar in check. Yes, which is I always say, it's always good to have an editor before you actually make a submission to a publisher. So I think you have to keep a balance over there. Try to correct it as much as possible at your end. But then always, as I was saying, go to the expert. That's the crux of our discussion today. Go to the expert. That is very important.
Yes. And with that, this is the end of the question and answer session of this interview. How was it for you, Suhail?
For me, I think it was very, very interesting. Yeah, I think it was very different. What I really liked was that none of the questions were shared beforehand, and I always love that challenge because, see, sometimes when people send out questions, it's nice because you may get to recollect, you may get to find certain pointers that you may want to bring out. But I generally feel that if the answer is true, then even if the question is asked at that point of time, you will be able to respond to it. And this was something I wasn't expecting at all. So it was interesting that we also discussed something barring books, and it's also because at the end of the day, books are only an aspect of our lives. It's not a life in itself. But what Sushita was discussing is a very important aspect of our life. Our life can be hampered if we do not take our mental health or health in general, in the correct way. So yeah, I think it was interesting to speak on it because, as I said, I wouldn't otherwise go out and post on my Instagram or Facebook on these things. But the questions have certainly given me an opportunity to express my opinions. I think it's wonderful. and you guys have amplified my responses, several fold. So great, thank you so much.
And with that, let's end this interview. I'm sure like people would want to like chew on the matters that we've discussed over here. Guys, please do like, subscribe, and share our channel to everyone. Please, guys, if you like are facing some issues, mental health issues, or I just want to talk to somebody, you have Sushruta. She's a mental health professional. You can talk to her. If you just want a friend and someone who just can listen to you, you can contact me of all people. I'm not gonna give you advice, but I am gonna keep my ears open for you. And with that, guys,
Which you have actually
we want
closed right now.
nothing.
Your
Okay. So with that, let's end this. We wish nothing but a peace of mind for you. Wish nothing but you guys get a good night's sleep. And with that, Sushita, take it away.
We are Team Ma'am.